Hello and welcome to our final video in the Effortless series. Today, we're going to be talking about effortless results. So the goal of creating effortless results is to implement systems where inputs create more than just a one-time output. You can achieve the same results again and again. So instead of just studying for one test, you're studying for the whole class, or you're studying for whatever your future career is. So lesson one today is going to be to make learning residual. Now, what is residual learning? So in high school, learning tends to be what we call linear. So you learn one skill and then you apply it to near identical scenarios. So think about what the problem could be with that. Basically, you're taught to do it one way, and if anything comes up that deviates from that, it's very confusing and you don't know what to do. Now, this changes in college, where you're expected to do residual learning. And now this is when you learn principles and apply them to constantly changing scenarios. So why would this be more useful? Generally speaking, it's more useful because in life, when you are in your career as a researcher, a dentist, a physical therapist, whatever you're doing, every scenario is going to be a little bit different. So you actually have to learn how to adapt if you want to be good at your job. And the point of college is to learn skills that will allow you to do a job as an adult. So let's use a sports metaphor here. A basketball player doesn't always just make free throws, right? No, they have to learn to shoot the ball from anywhere near the hoop, often with people trying to block them, often from really far away from the hoop if they want to shoot a three-pointer. So they're not just going to go to practice and throw a bunch of free throws and call it done. They might warm up by doing free throws. And that's really important because free throws are a part of the game. But they're going to scrimmage, they're going to dribble, they're going to pass, they're going to do all sorts of things at that practice to get themselves ready for a game, because in a game, anything can happen. So if you put small actions into practice, results are going to compound over time. You're going to get better at recognizing new scenarios. So if you do practice problems all the time and the scenarios are changing, that's really helpful for you on tests, because even if the problem itself that you've done doesn't come up on a test, you will be more familiar and more comfortable with new scenarios and problems you've never seen before. Let's move on to lesson two, learning strategies. The main learning strategy that I want to kind of posit today is to seek principles, not memorize examples. So this really grows out of the residual learning. Principles, will help you with the ever-changing scenarios you're going to find. So if you memorize examples, you'll only be able to do that type of problem. So you need to practice doing all different types of problems all the time. And this is called interleaved practice. It will help you start to look for commonalities and patterns to give yourself a better starting point when you have a problem that you're presented with on an exam that you've never seen before. So when you're doing your practice, let's use an example that's really simple. So let's say you are in elementary or middle school and you're learning about volume of shapes, three-dimensional shapes. So on a test, you're going to be asked to find the area inside, a sphere, a cone, a pyramid, anything, a cube. And you will need to use a different formula to find the area inside each of those three-dimensional objects. So instead of practicing only cubes, and then the next day you're going to practice only spheres, and then the next day you're going to practice only pyramids, you're going to interleave all of them together because that's what you're going to get on a test. So immediately changing your focus to the new formula and remembering the formulas is going to help you on the test when that is the actual situation. So on exams, you'll be more able to solve problems quickly and efficiently. Now, lesson three is teach. You may have heard this, but it's true. Teaching is by far the most powerful learning tool. Pay attention in class as though you will be giving the same lecture later. That's going to help you get what you need to get out of the lecture. It's going to help you start to prioritize things. So, what's the big idea? What's important? If I had to summarize this, what would I say? And you don't have to make things overly sophisticated. The general rule here is if you can't explain it to a 12-year-old, you don't know it well enough yet. This is because 12-year-olds are pretty advanced in their thinking, but their vocabularies are not very large. So it means that you're trying to explain something complicated with words that are not specifically jargon words to your field. So instead of using a word that a 12-year-old won't know, you'll have to explain what every single word means. So if you can't do that, you need to make sure that you can. And study groups are a really great way to practice this because you can take turns teaching concepts. And generally speaking, study groups are made up of people who are at different levels with different types of things. So you might be the expert at stoichiometry, but a friend of yours might be the expert at electrolytes or something in chemistry, say. So you're going to do some of the teaching and they're going to do some of the teaching. And that is really beneficial for both of you. Lesson 4, automate. Anytime you can automate something, do it. So we'll start with our calendar. So ideally, we're going to use a digital calendar of some kind. We always recommend that if a student doesn't already have a calendar system in place, they use Google Docs because Google Calendar, Google everything because UMBC is a Google school. So on Google Calendar, you can set up one event and then make it recurring in a variety of ways. You can say every week, you can say 3 times a week. There's a whole custom page to create the recurring event. You can have it stop on the last day of classes and all of that. And you can also create notifications so that your phone will remind you 30 minutes before the event, or 10 minutes, or both, or a day before, or 2 hours before, whatever you need to get yourself places on time. So we'll start with automating the calendar. You can also automate something like tutoring appointments at the Academic Success Center. So this is in your calendar every week. You don't have to remember to go in and make another appointment. It's already in your calendar. So if you go to tutoring, we recommend that you set up these recurring tutoring appointments. So if you can make your studying so routine that it becomes an automatic function, it's going to be a lot easier to do it. So we're just trying to simplify things. Lesson 5, our final lesson for the day, is prevent. Are there problems in your life that you manage but never fully solve? Try solving these problems today, even if it takes an extra hour. Maybe that's you keep getting frustrated with the drawer in your desk because it is really hard to push back in. Find out what's wrong with it. It's frustrating you. And it's going to keep doing that until you get that fixed. Maybe the windshield wipers on your car are kind of worn out and the rubber's not great. And so they're kind of screeching across your windshield and they're not really fully clearing the water, especially when the windshield is kind of dry. Replace them. Things like that, little things. Maybe there is too much noise in the place where you study. Don't study there. Find a place where the noise is at a manageable level or conducive to your studying. All those kinds of things are preventable, but you need to make a little extra step to actually solve that problem. The root is the problem, not the branches. So we have to strike at the root, not hack at the branches. This is like when you're pulling weeds and you don't just cut off the top of the weed, you have to pull the whole weed out of the ground so that it doesn't grow back. So if you can create boundaries and stick to them, you'll be much better off. Here's some ideas. Try studying with your notifications off and your phone in your bag. If your phone is a big distraction, you need to prevent that distraction. Let's say you're really tempted to stop at Starbucks every day to chat with your friends and get an expensive beverage. Take the long way to class if that helps you avoid Starbucks. And that is all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us for this whole series, and we really hope that you found it helpful. We'll see you for our next video.